We have officially entered the fantasy football playoffs, so now is not the time to get cute. We have to stick to our workhorse guys that we know can produce, but also still have a pretty high floor. So let's look at some guys that we should be sitting this week that can bring us home the fantasy football championship and move us to the next round. With that being said, you guys got to remember, only sit these players if you do have better alternatives. I don't want you guys sitting Zeke for someone like Latavius Murray. That's just not going to work. But if you have better alternatives, feel free to sit these guys. Number one on the list, with that being said, though, is Dameon Pierce and all of the Texans running backs. I feel like I've been tempering expectations for Dameon Pierce for the past couple weeks now, which seems to prove good because he has been very boomer bust for pretty much the whole season. He's also in a very, very bad offense, so those two don't mix very well. The Chiefs are 15-point favorites, which means that they're not going to be running the ball a lot. They're probably going to have to stick to the pass if this game isn't close, which it probably won't be. The Chiefs are also neutral in fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs. So the only way I could see Dameon Pierce being fantasy viable if he does get work in the receiving game in the checkdowns, but I would just stay away from him in general this week. The next group of guys you have to be sitting is all of the Colts wide receivers that isn't named Michael Pittman. I know we have been saying to target this Vikings matchup every chance that you get, but now is not the week to get pretty and start guys that you wouldn't normally be starting or are fringe flex guys, those being Alec Pierce and Paris Campbell. This matchup will probably be good for Michael Pittman, and maybe one of these wide receivers will get a deep pass and kind of save his fantasy football day, but these are not the guys you want to be risking your fantasy football week on. At the end of the day, it is the Colts that we're talking about here. With that being said, there are so many other more predictable players that probably have a higher floor and a higher ceiling anyways, so I would not start these guys this week. Another guy I would refrain from starting this week is DeAndre Swift. Like I said earlier, now is not the week you want to test your fantasy football luck. He has been very boomer bust recently, and we just don't want to have anything to do with that this week. He'll probably end up being a fine RB2 against the Jets this week, purely because of his receiving upside. He might find a touchdown, but just not a guy that we want to be going through and starting with a lot of confidence. There are so many other guys that have a higher floor than he does. Swift also has one of the highest projected bust percentages of the week at 42%, almost 50% bust percentage here. If you guys do want to go check out those stats and all of that information for yourself, download the Walter Picks app. If you use code Avery inside the app, you will get a lot of free features that you could get on premium, but if you do use code Avery inside the app, you get start sit tools, a whole bunch of stuff completely free for unlimited uses. So if you want to do your own fantasy football analysis for the remainder of the fantasy football season, go ahead and download Walter Picks in the App Store, use code Avery in there, and it'll help you out a lot. But another guy that I'm considering sitting this week is Travis Etienne. He has not been having a good stretch since his bye week, averaging 4 fantasy points a game. Despite Trevor Lawrence passing 40 times a game, Travis Etienne still isn't seeing a lot of that work. We drafted him this year thinking that he would get that receiving work and get a good amount of his fantasy volume in the receiving game, but he's just not. He saw it a little bit earlier in the season, but that's kind of been dying down, and he didn't see any last week. I do think he could find his way in a couple balls and catch a couple of them, but he is playing the Dallas defense, which ranks 6th amongst opposing running back points allowed. It is a tough matchup for him. If this game does happen to blow out, there is not much opportunity for Travis Etienne in the ground game, so I would probably stay away from him this week. That is going to do it for the rapid fire sits for this week. If you guys don't want to miss the rest of the videos coming out after Sunday, go ahead and hit that follow button, subscribe to the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it, but I'll see you guys in the next one.